Hello, welcome to the Grow Your Wealthy Mindset podcast, where it is all about helping amazing physicians just like you create a wealthy life free from burnout and with the financial security to practice medicine on your own terms. I'm your host, Dr. Elisa Chiang. Hello, and welcome back to the Grow Your Wealthy Mindset podcast. From time to time, I've brought on guests to this podcast. Whenever I bring on a guest, I bring on someone I personally know, or I seek out someone who has specific information that I would like to share on this podcast. I actually get many people writing to me requesting to be on the podcast because they know that my audience of physicians are people they essentially want to market to. And I'm very protective on who I bring to this podcast. The podcast guest who's had the most downloads is Dr. Karen Leitner. And so for today, I'm going to replay that podcast where she was a guest. Enjoy! I'm so excited for you to meet our guest for today. I have Karen Leitner, who's a primary care physician as well as a life coach. She helps women physicians feel better and happier in their lives by empowering them to overcome work-life overwhelm, imposter syndrome, parenting challenges, and all the other joy kills that's so common among women physicians. Karen, why don't you introduce yourself further?
Thanks so much for having me. So yes, I am all those things. I am a life coach for women doctors. I'm a mom. I have 3 daughters and I live in the chilly Northeast. So I'm in Boston. I have a little dog that I hope you don't hear during this podcast. And I'm just so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. So Karen and I met when we were at the EWP retreat in Bora Bora this year, which we had a fantastic time at. EWP is Empowering Women Physicians, and it is the coaching group by Sunny Smith.
Yeah, and that's the first time I paid for coaching and really got to experience. She has a program that lasts for several weeks where you have virtual coaching with a group of other physician women. Did you participate in her program? Or was this the first time you had done an event with her?
This was the first time I've done an EWP event. I've been coached by Sunny when she guest coaches in other programs. So she coaches in leverage and growth accelerators.
Yeah.
And so I've been coached by her there.
Yeah. So there were I think 75 women physicians all there in Bora Bora, which was so insane in this beautiful resort. And that's where I got to know you a little bit. Can I talk about why I decided to harass you to let me on your podcast?
Sure.
I just remember during one of the sessions you were being coached on the work that you do. And I was really struck by how passionate you are about helping serve and empower physicians to, I don't know if I'm going to say the language right, but just to become financially independent or to be less burdened by their financial stressors. And I just was like, I got to get on board. Like anyone who was as passionate as I am about helping physicians feel better. And for you, it's about money. I want to be a part of that because I think they need our help, right? Like so many of them are really in a hard place right now because of the pandemic and because of the way medicine is structured and because of COVID, everything. So that was it. I saw this fire in you and I was like, yes, we got to spread the message about how many things there are out there that can help.
Yeah, no, it's so sad how many physicians have spent a lifetime career in medicine and then really don't have financially anything to show for it such that they can't have a comfortable retirement. I've talked to physicians in their early 60s who have a net worth of under $1 million. And actually, there's a Medscape survey from 2019 that 24% of physicians over the age of 65 have less than $1 million of net worth, which typically means unless they have a pension that they're not going to really be able to retire. If you have $1 million invested in a pure stock and bond portfolio, you're really looking at living on $40,000 a year. And if that is in a traditional 401k that you're withdrawing from, then you're still paying taxes on that money.
Yeah, I'm hearing you say these words and I'm like, if you're a non-financial person like I am, your brain is like, I don't even know what half of that means, but that's really scary. So I just think I'm not going to think about it for the next 50 years is how my uncoached brain would probably have processed that. Because $1 million, right? If you just finished training and you already, you have, I don't know, $200,000 of loan debt, you're probably just like, $1 million sounds pretty good. And now here's this lady telling me it's not enough. Like, holy crap. And then usually what we do when we're scared or when we're like reacting with those negative feelings is we just avoid. And so to anyone who's listening, like, don't hang up, I always say, or like, don't press stop or whatever, stay with us, because the whole point is it doesn't have to be that hard for you to get out of this situation, but there's things you don't know that you need to know. And that's what we're here to talk about.
Yeah, because the great news is like the average physician, if they really manage their money and take control of their money, can actually go from not having anything to being able to have financial freedom in 15 years. And that's just investing in stocks and bonds and not diving into real estate or like lots of other kind of more advanced investments and managing their money at home. So it doesn't have to be a lot of work to actually get there. And if you do have a shorter timeline, then there are ways, like there are people who've gotten financially independent with real estate as short as 1 year. Now, I would say that's totally outside the norm, but doing it in 5 years is actually very doable for most physicians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what do you think gets in the way? If it's not that hard, what do you think is keeping? I mean, I have some ideas, but like, what do you think are the major obstacles to people starting to take some of these actions?
It's totally mindset. And that's why I think coaching is so important, but people don't recognize that it's really about mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So Letty and Kenji teach Zero to Freedom, and they literally start their first module with mindset because they realize how important it is. We have to actually feel like, yes, we can do this. Yes, I have time for this. Yes, I'm smart enough to do this. Yes, I can learn this in order to get it done. But a lot of times as physicians, we think, don't have time for that. I'm already a busy physician. I've got my family. I've got all these other obligations, or I don't have money to invest in real estate. You need tens of thousands of dollars to invest in real estate. Or I know nothing about investing in real estate. And I know so-and-so who like lost all their money investing in real estate. Like there's no way I could do that. That sounds way too risky to me.
Yeah, those things you all just said, like to me, I'm like, oh, that's a limiting belief. Oh, that's a limiting belief. A limiting belief is just a thought you have that you believe to be true, and it just shuts you down. So like, I don't have time. Like, what does that even mean? You have the same, and it's, physicians are really busy. So I'm not trying to say that that's a lie or that it's not true that they may not, but it's like, what does that even mean? Like, how much time do you think you need? Because what we tend to do, what I observe with so many of my physician women clients is like, we're so all or nothing. We're so like, I guess how I would say that differently is we go from being like, well, I like to think of it like, well, I can't run any distance right now, and I need to be able to run a marathon. So that's too hard. So I'm just not even going to go like look for my running shoes. You know what I mean? We just shut ourselves down because we think it's going to take so much time, so much effort, so much money. But we don't actually even know if we just take a step back and are like, well, how much time could you spend? Right? They're like, I don't have 17 hours a week to invest in real estate, so I'm going to spend none. It's like, but if you spent 10 minutes a week listening to a podcast about finances on your way to work over the course of the next 50 years, do you know how much you would know and learn and like have fortified all of it? So it's helping people realize like that's what mindset is. Because I think sometimes people don't even understand what mindset is. They're like, what do you mean mindset? Why would having a different mindset help me have more money? Like that doesn't make any sense. It's like, well, your mindset is what's leading you to not take any action because you're avoiding the feelings that come up when you even think about your money. And I see that happen so often in the women I coach. It's like we get so overwhelmed quickly because we think it's so hard. And so part of like one way that I work with people to help them move towards their goals is to break it down into the littlest tiny piece, right? It's like, you can't go running for 5 miles. Can you open your door and look outside and like walk to your front step? It sounds so silly, but it's like, that's the first thing. Like, what's the first thing you need to do? What's one thing you could do? Not what's all the things you can do.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
Because like you said, if you spend 10 minutes a day on something, then that time over time will amount to so much information as opposed to zero. And it's just incremental, right? You could spend 5 minutes a day and you're still going to be way better off than someone that spends zero, because zero means you're not moving forward at all. Any type of moving forward is going to get you somewhere.
Yeah. And am I allowed to swear on this podcast?
I tend not to have swearing, but I'm not totally against it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to call BS and I don't have time. And you physicians listening, you know this is true. Don't get mad at me, but it's like, I don't have 10 minutes a day. I'm so exhausted. I'm so strung out. It's like, are you looking at Facebook for 10 minutes a day? Are you looking at Instagram for 10 minutes a day? Are you doing a crossword? Are you playing like Candy Crush? Like most of us, when we live such stressful, busy, high pressure lives, and we don't really know how to manage our feelings, we need an outlet of some kind, right? Which is why we're all like in bed at night scrolling on Facebook instead of going to sleep or doing our charts or doing laundry or whatever we need to do. It's like we are wasting time in areas that are not aligned with our priorities. Like if you're a human being, and maybe not everybody, maybe there's someone listening to this who's like, I never do that. Every second of my day is like perfectly allotted towards useful, meaningful things. I'm like, well, I don't know how you manage that. Because even I sometimes, if I have a deadline, I find myself organizing my closet. I'm like, what am I doing? That's like what we do when we're trying to deal with an uncomfortable feeling. And so part of coaching is like learning how to recognize your feelings, learning what's coming up for you when you even think about money, thinking about all the ways that our family of origins have taught us to believe about money, and just sort of questioning all of it and being like, is that even true? Why do I think that? Like, what would it be like to think something different about money? And so some of those limiting beliefs you said, what were they? You're like, I don't have time. I don't have enough money. As if like investing, I don't know, what if you invested like $100 a month? Would that be better than investing $0 a month?
It certainly would. And you can invest $100 a month. You would do it in a REIT, a real estate investment trust. You would do it by buying the stock of a REIT, and you could literally do $100 a month and make that happen.
And then someone's like, but what even is that? I don't know how to do that. And then I'm like, have you met Google? Like you Google, what is a REIT? How do I invest? I mean, I didn't even know that was a thing, but I think we also shut ourselves down. Like I love to help women negotiate. And negotiate, what does that mean? Like negotiate a job offer, negotiate a raise, a promotion, a resource. You can negotiate for the house you're trying to buy for your family. You can negotiate with your partner that they should pick up the kids from school, whatever it is. But specifically when I'm talking to women about negotiating like a raise, they'll be like, I don't even know who to ask. I don't even know where to start. And we call that indulging in confusion. It sounds so believable. I wouldn't even know who to ask. It's like, well, why don't you just randomly pick one person? And if they're not the right person, keep going until you find the right person. I feel like that's a mindset thing also. Our brains love to be like, I don't even know. I just don't know. But we're doctors. Like we can figure stuff out. Oh no, you're not that.
Totally fine. Yeah, no, it's totally true. And a lot of times people just get stuck in the how. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this. Right.
Yes.
And so
it's not
like,
about the how.
Ask, right?
Yeah. It's about like, if there's one thing that I would love everyone listening to take away from this call is to remind yourself that you have spent your entire training learning how to figure stuff out. That thought for me is so helpful. I can figure this out. I may not know how, but I can figure it out, or I'm working on figuring it out, or I'm going to ask someone else how I can figure it out. And that's how you trick your brain not to shut down, because your brain thinks you're supposed to know how to do all these things. How are you like, there's no way you could know how to do all these things. You've spent zero time and energy studying any of them, but you could ask someone like you, and you're going to make it much less of a time investment to learn this stuff because you've already done all the studying and like you've amassed all the knowledge. And now, it's just, I think it's also so interesting sometimes that people are like, I don't have enough time and I don't want to invest money in getting the help because I think I can just do it myself. But doing it yourself takes more time and ultimately costs you more money.
Oh, for sure. And mistakes in real estate can cost a lot of money. So if you can take a course and learn something where you're going to avoid a mistake, it generally pays for the course easily itself. And there's so many more resources now than when I got started. I mean, right now you can take great courses online that really go step by step with how you need to do it. Whereas when I started, there were some online courses, but really it was mostly live courses, and you had to actually travel there and fly and pay for hotel, and the courses are also just more expensive being live as well.
Yeah. What comes up for me is like, I'm hearing you say all these things and I'm thinking like, how is Elisa's mindset different? Like, how did because so many of us just think like, oh, I wasn't born that way. Like I wasn't born knowing about how to do money things, or I wasn't born having confidence, or I wasn't born, enjoying exercise. And it's like, none of these are genetically imprinted like skills. It's like you have to adopt a way of thinking, that someone who really is going to aspire towards financial independence is going to have, or a way of thinking that someone who doesn't have imposter syndrome is going to have. You don't have to be a different person. You just have to start thinking, how would someone who is like trying to build confidence about money, how would they think? Because when we just listen to the default thoughts in our own brains, we're like, I don't know how to do this. So I'm just wondering for you, right? Clearly, you early on had some thoughts about the importance of this, or about your ability to educate yourself about this, that drove you to keep seeking more information and like learning more and making investments and taking risks. But can you think of a way that mindset stuff comes up for you now with regards to, it could be about finances, but it could be about anything. Because I find a misconception sometimes is like, oh, I've invested in coaching or I've worked on my mindset, so now I just have a perfect mindset all the time. And I never indulge in all the human drama, like I was just saying about cleaning my closet when I know I should be doing something else. I was just curious, where's your humanity about this?
Yeah, you still have to constantly manage your mind, right? Like I have plenty of limiting beliefs that I recognize as a limiting belief, and it takes work to actually change those limiting beliefs. Even, there's a part of me that like knows it's not true, but I still feel like it's true, right? So there's the cognitive part, and then there's like what you feel in your body, and it's like even. Karen and I were talking before we started this recording, and I was talking about how like I compare myself to people who are, quote, better than me or doing better than me or have more skill than me. And, the comparison is not helpful. And I know cognitively the comparison is not helpful, but yet I still kind of do it anyways. And I have to remind myself, like, it's not helpful. It doesn't make me better at anything. It just makes me feel bad. And really what I should look at is like this person, whoever is better in whatever way, is just inspiring. It's showing what's possible, and that I can develop the skill, the ability by just practicing and working at it.
Oh my gosh, so good. Have you read the book, The Gap and the Gain? Have you heard of that concept?
I've heard of the book. I have not read it as of yet.
Okay.
I've got so many books on my
I know. Okay, I'm going to dumb it all down for you. Like, here's the crux of it. It's basically like, whenever we're comparing ourselves to someone, we're always going to compare to someone more successful, smarter, farther ahead, right? Like I remember being a new attending in practice and being like, what the heck am I doing? I'm like floundering. And then looking at my colleagues who've been there for like 20 years and comparing myself to them. And we call it compare and despair, because your brain is like looking at someone who's in the ideal place and then comparing that to you. So that's what the gap is. It's like where I am now versus this ideal I think I'm supposed to be going to. And we're always going to find ourselves lacking, because there's always people who are going to be better, smarter, richer, better coaches, whatever it is. And it's just not useful. We're never comparing ourselves to the people who, didn't get into medical school or are, really don't have the things we have. So it's just a helpful thing to notice. Our brains like to do that. It's never compare and feel joy and gratitude. It's usually compare and despair. But the work around the way we combat that is to always compare ourselves to ourselves, but like where we started. So you today versus where you were 10 years ago with your finances, oh my God, you've made so much progress. You with your podcast, you with your coaching practice, like same with me. If we look at where we were a year or two ago, we're like, wow, I've really grown and done all this stuff. But if we look at the person we think is more successful, we like our brain, forgets about all of that. And we wind up feeling like dissatisfied and unfulfilled. And I notice this always also in my clients too, where like, we think if we get, into residency, or then we get into attending hood, or then we get a fellowship, or we get promoted, we think like that's the place where I'm finally going to feel happier or more fulfilled. But the truth is, you never do, because it's like the horizon, the ideal always moves along with you. As soon as you get there, then you're looking at like the next thing you think you need to hit. And what you really want to do is turn around and look at where you came from and see all the ways that you've really like grown and improved. So I love that.
Yeah. And I think sometimes
take it back. Figuring it out, maybe not the most important concept, but like remembering to compare yourself to you, where you came from, so useful.
Yeah, and it can be useful to even talk to people who are at the beginning of wherever you started from a few years ago. So I recently went to Work Hard, Play Hard, where Karen and I also see each other. And I spoke to a lot of physician who were just in the process of getting certified in coaching and hadn't started their coaching business at all, and just talking to them about all the things that were natural to me that were being presented at the conference, and where they felt like it was completely over their head, and where I felt like, oh yeah, this is, mostly all stuff I know. And there were definitely pearls in order to that I could pick up to improve upon, because there always are, right? You got to get really good at the basics and you master the basics. But at the same time, I realized just how far I had grown as like a businesswoman and entrepreneur.
Yeah, I know, it's amazing. But somehow, like, our brains don't like to recognize that in and of ourselves. Our brains are always like, this is where you're deficient. This is what you still haven't done yet. This is what you really need to be thinking about. I notice it even like in my kids, I just remember thinking like, oh my God, I have this huge test coming up. And I'd get so stressed about it when I was in high school. I had a little journal. I would write it down. I'd be like, oh my God, I have this paper and this test and this thing. And then I would and then that would be fine. So I wouldn't think about it anymore. I'm like, but this one, now I'm worried about this one. It's like, we have a hard time recognizing what we achieve. And then there's the whole piece of being socialized as women, where if we really sit back and we're like, look at all the things I did really well. Like, look how great that was. We're like afraid that we're being braggy or that we're being arrogant. So we almost never celebrate like what we have accomplished. But the crazy part is when you acknowledge and celebrate yourself for, even if you're just like, I put away $5 this week. Yay, it's awesome. I'm getting more fiscally responsible, whatever it is. That momentum, like that's what keeps you going, is the celebrating. Not like if you're looking at like, oh my God, every year you're like, my retirement account is just so crappy. You're just never going to do anything about it, because you need to feel motivated or determined. You need a feeling that drives you to act in a different way, which is always going to come from your thoughts. Because I don't know if you taught your audience yet that your thoughts create your feelings. Spoiler alert, your thoughts are what create your feelings. So if you want to feel differently, you have to start thinking differently. That's why we keep going on and on about the mindset.
Yeah. And along the lines of comparison, we really compare ourselves also to the people we see around us, and not necessarily to just the whole world as a whole, right? But as physicians, we see patients from all walks of life. And if we actually compare ourselves to like all the patients we see, then we realize just how far we've come and how successful we are, and like all the things, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That makes me think of gratitude. I'm just sort of thinking about, how is gratitude different than just sort of looking at how far we've gone? Like, I think it's another useful tool to help us, like when we start to go to that place of freak out about our finances or about not having enough, we kind of have to like balance out our nervous system, so even if you're not feeling motivated or determined about where you want to go with your finances, you can at least feel grateful for what we do have, which are these incredibly valuable brains as physicians. And then it's just about like leveraging that to like detach ourselves from thinking that how much money we make has to come from how many hours we work, right? Just to bring it all back to like some of our limiting beliefs. I mean, I think that for some people, they're like, what are you talking about? Because that's like the myth. It's like, no, you just have to work harder if you want to make more money.
Yeah, for sure.
Is that true?
Yeah, no, when you talk to a lot of people about making more money, they're like, oh, I can't work harder. I can't see more patients. And it's like, no, it's not about working harder. How can we work smarter? How can we be more efficient? How can we dissociate time with money? Because that's how you're really going to build wealth.
Yes. Amen. Yeah. And then I think there's a lot of this idea that like, we think to build wealth, we need to spend less, which is not, but spending less does not make money. Paying off your med school debt does not make money. And I think that's a common misconception too. I don't know if you've talked about that before, but like, have you talked at all about how sometimes rushing to pay off your debt is actually like not a sound financial move?
I've definitely talked about that with a lot of my clients, people who have locked in interest rates of 3%, 3.5%, mortgages, or even there are people with med school loans where that are locked in somewhere around 2.5, 3% back in 2006 when I did the MD PhD program. So I graduated in 2010, but I entered in 2002. So my co-med students were graduating in 2006 and they were locking in their student loans at less than 3%. So no, you don't want to pay that off, right? Like that's less than inflation right now. That debt is actually decreasing with time.
Right. And it's fascinating because people post on social media, they're like, yay, I've paid off all my loans. And as a as a culture of medicine who is so focused on scarcity, we're like, yay, go you, because the debt feels so scary to us. But that's one big lesson I've learned from being coached by money coaches is like paying off your debt when your interest rate is so low means you're not making the money you would have made if you had invested that money elsewhere. And that's like a big, like, you can kind of confuse your brain when you stop and think about that. For me, I was like, what? It's like, but a lot of the things that we just take for granted as being truth are not even true. So what are some of the other ones we've dispelled? So like getting rid of debt is not always like debt is not bad. Debt is just debt. Sometimes you can like use debt to your advantage to actually make money. So it's like, what? And then we talked about tying how many hours you work to how much money you make. It doesn't have to be that way. Because you could like, can you give an example of that? Like have a stock that's going up overnight while you're sleeping, right? Have a course people can buy that's like recorded online while you're sleeping, right? Like what else? Owning real estate that you rent, making money while you're not working. So yeah, what are some other examples that you have?
Well, and you can do it in many different ways. You can invest more passively through a syndication where someone else is really running everything and you've just put money in. You can do it through a long-term rental where you do own the property, but you could have a property manager who's really doing most of the legwork and you're paying for all that, but there's still positive cash flow on top of that. There's short-term rentals or vacation home rentals, and that also allows you to use the vacation rental for yourself. So there's a nice perk there. There's, like you mentioned, if you create a course and it's all videos and people can go online and pay for the course. And yes, you put in work to create the course, but once you've created it, then people can continue to purchase it. And there's no additional time necessarily other than marketing it so that people know to buy it, but it's not like you're constantly doing the course over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think like, just from a mindset standpoint, sometimes in order to be able to make more money, you have to start by believing in the possibility. If you just are like, there's no way, and I have to work till I die, and I'm going to be poor in retirement, it's like, that's what you're going to create for yourself. But if you're like, I wonder if it's possible for me to make more money than I'm making right now at my current job, what would I have to do? Oh, okay, I'd have to go negotiate for this promotion, this role, this committee, this thing. And I'm going off on a tangent, but like with negotiation, it still starts from the belief that it's possible for you. And then you go after it versus so many of us are like, well, I just can't. There's nothing I can do. I asked one time, they said no. So see, it doesn't work. It's like you have to start by believing it might be possible. And then all of a sudden, all this opportunity opens up for you. Oh, maybe instead of like, if they don't want to promote me at work, maybe I will go to 80%. Keep all my benefits and take that 20% clinical time that I would have been running around being underpaid and decide to invest in a program to teach me expert witness work. And then I make, 3 times as much per hour as I do in my current job. Like we just start playing around with what could be possible. It's amazing what can come up for you when you start thinking in that way.
Right. Like another way is, well, you see more patients and you're paid by RVUs or collections, that could bring in more money. But like, how can seeing more patients not be as much work and as much time? Well, maybe adding a scribe so that you're not really having to do all the charting. And a scribe, doesn't necessarily cost as much as a physician, right? Like your kind of pay per hour is going to be a lot more than the scribe pay per hour. And if you're increasing your pay per hour by see more patients, then that can pay for the scribe in itself. And even if you're in an institution where no one has scribes, if you can make the financial case to your institution, you may be able to get a scribe. And I actually do know a physician who did this. There were no scribes in her institution. She really went to them, was like, I really need a scribe, like really made the case for how it would affect her well-being. And I don't know if she made the financial case or, how she negotiated, but she got herself a scribe, and then people in her institution started getting scribes. So she wasn't the only one.
Yeah.
All these
this is how we drive change. Yeah. Like even if we were like, okay, let's come up with 5 ways you can earn more money at your job without necessarily having to work harder. You're like scribe, right? So you're spending less time on notes. You're more efficient. You're seeing more patients. You're getting paid more. My thought was like group visits. If you're someone who sees lots of diabetics, if you're doing lots of weight loss, medical weight loss, if you're, I don't know. I mean, a surgeon's probably like, I can't do 10 appendectomies at the same time. Then we're like, oh, we're shutting our brain down again. But we're like, if you're a surgeon, you need to think about it differently. How could you find ways to decrease turnaround time in the OR? How could you work to like book several people so you can just go back and forth between your rooms and be more optimized? Whatever it is, you have to start with this belief, like, I think it's possible. How would I solve for that? Because our brains are designed to want to solve for that. And I was even, it's fun to think about these things. It's fun to brainstorm. I was thinking like, all right, what if group visits isn't an option? What if a scribe isn't an option? Sometimes when you're in, a field, you find yourself saying the same things over and over and over again to your patients, the same exact things. So then you think like, how could I do that more efficiently? How could I free up the first 5 minutes of the visit by sending out a questionnaire or having them fill it out in the waiting room before they even come in to see me, so I don't have to run through these same questions all the time? Or how do I train my patients? Or how do I devise like a video series that they can watch to teach them about this topic so that they're still getting great care, but it's outside of the exam visit time? Like this is how you can get so excited about creating different results in your life. You have to start by getting out of the learned helplessness that we all got in our training that tells us there's nothing you can do. You have no power and no change and no flexibility and no autonomy, right? And we're like, I guess I can't change anything. It's like, no, you can change everything. First, you have to start by believing it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're so right. Like start thinking about like, what do you do all the time repetitively that you could somehow get someone else to do or make a de facto way of doing it. So one thing I did was I made YouTube videos of the things that I keep saying to patients again and again. And so in the room with the patient, I'll kind of say some of it, but I'll say like, okay, now watch this video for the full information, as well as patients don't remember everything that you tell them in clinic. So now they can watch this video over and over again, and they can actually see how to do it. If I'm showing them a technique for like how to do eyelid scrubs, like just have a video for it so that they can actually see how it's done.
Do you do it on yourself as you're like filming? Like that could be dangerous. You need to be careful. Those are valuable eyes you have. I'm just laughing because I think like, I like to just imagine I'm in the head of the people listening to us. And I'm imagining someone's like, well, I can't finish the charts I have now. So if I see more patients and I know I can't have a scribe, like I'm not going to be able to finish them. So that's going to limit me. And I'm just laughing because, or not laughing, but I think something else that comes up often in my clients that I see is this scarcity mindset where they don't want to invest. Like scarcity mindset, meaning I don't have enough, and that's what's driving my decision making. So I don't have enough time to come to this session where I'm going to learn how to be more efficient with my time. Right? I hear this, like one of the things I do in coaching over and over again, clients come to me and they're feeling overwhelmed and they're feeling burned out, and we get their charts done like same day. So they're not bringing it all home with them. But a lot of people who never join my program, it's because their belief is like, I don't have enough time to learn how to save all this time for myself. And I'm sure it comes up with money too. It's like, I don't want to invest in someone helping me negotiate. I don't want to spend the money on it because I don't think I have enough money. And it's like, dude, like when you negotiate, you're going to get more money. Or even I don't want to pay for a contract lawyer to look over my contract because I don't want to spend the money. It's like, but then when you're not able to get out of your, when you have like a 180-day, what do you call it? Like notice that you're required to give, or you have a non-compete in there that you didn't realize, or you have unpaid call. It's like, it's costing you money not to spend the money, to save yourself money. And that gets really like, I just see that a lot. That's a mindset thing where people, because they listen to these beliefs that I don't have enough time or money, it's costing them time or money. Does that come up for you in your coaching a lot?
Oh, for sure. And really, it's shifting that mindset of like, you're not just spending money, you're investing money, and just make the mindset shift of you are going to get a return on this investment. So if you are thinking like, I'm not just spending money, I'm investing and I'm going to get a return on the investment, you're going to find the ways where you're going to make up for the money that you invested, such that you save by preventing some mistake along the line that would have cost you money, or you negotiate so that you can get more money. I mean, I think certainly paying someone to help you negotiate a higher income, salary, compensation, I mean, that clearly pays for itself.
It pays for itself. It pays for itself. Yeah. So this is the gospel that we preach. We're just like, but how do you help people? There has to be like a baseline, I think, interest in personal development or personal growth, right? Because some people come and they're just like, tell me how to buy real estate. It's like, it's not the how. I need to help you figure out how you're going to think about it and how you're going to handle the emotional things that come up when you're thinking about making a big purchase or when you're thinking about your financial future, right? It always comes back to your mindset and also like your emotions, which as doctors, we're like, what emotions? I don't have emotions. I just like see a patient die and go on and see the next patient. And I just like never look back. Right. I mean, that's the tragedy of it. There's a direct connection between our inability to really access and like recognize the importance of our feelings, because our training kind of requires us to shut them down and suppress them and like eat them, but it's when you start to pay attention to that, that's how you get into a more empowered, better feeling life about your money, about your charting, about your work, about your family, about your health, all those things. Like you have to look there. You can't just like, I'm not a weight loss coach. You're not a weight loss coach. But the reason why, like sometimes it's not about the how. Sometimes it's not about like, put this in your mouth. Don't put this in your mouth. Put this in your mouth. Don't put this in your mouth. It's about, why am I eating? How am I feeling when I'm deciding to eat? And what am I looking to replace? Like what feeling am I having a hard time dealing with that's making me go eat? Like I just had a donut this morning because my kids have been sick for like every day. It's like, who's going to be sick today? And I'm feeling super stressed. And then there I go, I eat it. And it's not a place of judgment. It's just, I don't think it's, if you're not paying attention, you're just like, oh, I guess I'm just eating a lot now. And it's like, no, there's a feeling I'm not really like paying attention to. And I need to pay some attention to that. Otherwise, physicians have such high rates of depression, anxiety, substance abuse, suicide. It's terrible. And there's stuff we can do about it. There's stuff we are doing about it. You're doing it. I'm doing it. That's why the work we do is so valuable.
Everything we do, everything we want is because of how we think we're going to feel when we get it. Right. I mean, really, we act out of how we feel, and we desire things for how we think it's going to make us feel to have it. Mm-hmm. And as physicians, like I think weight loss is a great example. We know how to lose weight, less calories, less processed foods, like
actually the calories. I wouldn't. You need to read the obesity code like that. We're not doing that anymore. Like that's less important. That's a limiting belief.
Well, but it's really about like adjusting what you're putting in your mouth, right? Sure. And to some extent, the amount of activity you're doing, but it's more or less like what's going in your mouth. And we know that we can figure out, like we know the right things to put in our mouth, right?
Here's how you lose weight: put less in your mouth. It's not the how. The how is easy.
Every physician knows the how, but
right.
The real issue is like, why are we putting things in our mouth that we know that we quote shouldn't be, right? Like, why did we eat the donut this morning? To feel better. And if we're going to food to feel better, then we're going to be eating things that will likely cause us to gain weight.
Yeah. And then when we like want to lose weight and then we don't, then we judge ourselves, then we beat ourselves up. I mean, we haven't even talked about how much physicians do that, but we're so self-critical and so we judge ourselves so harshly, which actually gets in the way of like helping us reach our goals. Because we're just like, I can't believe I ate that donut, and like, I'm never going to lose weight, and I'm fat and horrible, and this is awful. And, we just like, so many of us have those kinds of thoughts floating around in there that we don't really even realize we have, that I call like, it's kind of like the mean attending voice in our head. It's like, that note you wrote is terrible. You're never going to get out of here on time. What's the matter with you? Everyone else has left and your charts are all still done. And you don't even know what the next line treatment is for that patient. And you should have done this better. And like that, I don't know if that shows up in the same way with your clients dealing with finance, but maybe, right? Like you're so irresponsible with money, and how could you not have more? And you should have had so much more than this by now. That judgment like shuts us down. And the only way we're going to change our behavior is getting like curious and compassionate with how we think and talk to ourselves. Because you never drive change by like whipping someone, right? You never learn from like beating the crap out of someone. You learn by like encouraging them and continually like being supportive and kind. That's not, that is like, there's no woman who comes to me to coach who already knows and is good at practicing that self-kindness. That's something that we all really have to work on.
Yeah, we all have judges, that inner voice that is judging and saying like, oh, you should have been better. Why aren't you smarter? All those things. And I really do think it applies to finance, especially because finance has its own language. And just like medicine has its own language, right? When we started as a first year medical student and we started hearing all the medical terminology, we didn't know what was going on. It took us years of education to learn it and be comfortable with it and use it so that now it's commonplace. Well, money's the same way. Money's very simple. And I mean, even the math behind money is generally just simple arithmetic, right? It's grade school math. But there's all this terminology and language behind money. So when we start hearing people talk about it, it sounds like a foreign language because in a way it really is. But we think we should know about it. So then we start judging ourselves for not knowing about it. So I hear all the time about physicians who talk to a financial advisor and they start, talking about whatever financial product that's complicated. And it's made complicated specifically to make you like not really know what's going on because they're selling to you for the commission. And we think like, oh, we're smart, like we're physicians, like we don't want to look stupid in front of this financial advisor. So we're just going to go along with it and buy what they're recommending because they're making it sound good. And unfortunately, that makes a lot of physicians end up with whole life insurance, which was inappropriate for them.
Yeah, no, it's so funny that you mentioned that because we recently started working with a financial planner. And every single time we talk to her, at least 2 or 3 times, I'll just be like, I don't know what that is. I don't understand what you're saying. I don't know what you mean. I'm not embarrassed about it. That's not the problem for me because I can just be like, I have no idea. But then my brain, and my husband is in finance, so I'm just like, he can think about it. But then I go to like, this is so boring. I can't bear to listen to this anymore. It is so boring to me. I want to be anywhere but here. My brain just starts to do that. And part of me is like, this is really important. This is like my future, our trust and our estate and my kids and security. And my brain is like, but I'm so bored. This is so boring. It's so boring. And that's where I have to manage my mind. And I'm working on it. But I think it's just really interesting. Everyone has their own flavor. Some people might just be like you said, I don't want to look stupid. So I'm not even going to tell them I have no idea what they're talking about. And I'm just going to run and hide. Or I'm not even going to hire a financial planner because I'm worried what they're going to think about me when they realize how little I know. And the other thing, I don't know if you talk a lot about this, but like, again, I deal exclusively with physician women, and women aren't socialized to believe that we're supposed to be good with money. Like we're not.
Oh, that's so true.
Yeah.
And it's societal and it's institutional. It was actually really hard-won rights for women to actually be able to control money.
Right.
When a woman was married, like everything she owned now belonged to her husband.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until not that long ago where like a husband actually had to like disclose to his wife that he was getting a mortgage on a house that they like mutually owned.
Yeah. And it's like, I know 1974 was when a woman could own a credit card without having her husband co-sign on it. It's like we historically were not seen as having a ton of intrinsic value beyond how much we helped or served others. We were the caretakers and that's how it translated into the helping professions. I mean, this is a whole other conversation we could have because what I notice coming up for some of my clients when I'm trying to encourage them to negotiate is women will say like, well, I'm not doing this for the money. I had a client say that to me recently. We figured out she's like an amazing subspecialist for a very sick patient population. And I had the data because I provide people MGMA data in my program to show that she was being paid at like the 5th percentile. So that means like 95 people doing the same work as her are getting paid more than her. And her answer was like, well, I didn't go into this for the money. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting way for you to think about it. What about equity? What about if we lined everyone up? How do you feel about the fact that 95 people doing what you're doing are getting paid more than you? And probably most of the ones at the very top are men. And if we don't negotiate, if we don't speak up and ask, we perpetuate that because at every level, we take the job without asking for more. And someone else is asking for more because no one is ever making their best and final offer to you when they're trying to hire you. That would be like dumb. You always want to try.
No, I mean, and a lot of women getting paid less is we negotiate less. We don't negotiate as hard. And then we don't go back and negotiate and ask for more.
Yeah.
Men are much more likely to negotiate harder when, going after compensation in a new job. And they're more likely to go ask for more along the way. When's the last time you asked for a raise at your work?
Well, I'm self-employed.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't mean like you, but I mean more the listener, right?
I have such a good, oh yeah, totally. I mean, I have women who come to me and they're like, it never occurred to me that I could ask for a raise. I've been here for 10 years. I just thought, why would I do that? And I've had women say, like, I have, not to self-promote, but I believe in this so strongly. Like I really believe with a passion that teaching women the tools for negotiation is like what's going to move the needle for, I have 3 daughters. I don't want them to be part of the gender wage gap. So I have a ton of resources and knowledge about this. I don't know if that's something that you also talk about a lot on your podcast, but on my website, I have a talk I gave about negotiation and I just lost my train of thought. I just lost where I was even going. Where was I going? Get me back.
Well, I was just thinking, I was like, actually, so I took a negotiation course back when I was in college. So I went to Caltech and they actually had these like 2 and 3 day courses that were for executives. So companies actually sent like their, people in order to get skills on certain things. And there was one in negotiation. So I took the one in negotiation, and I can't remember. I don't think I was the only woman, but I mean, it was likely like 90% white men in this class. And most of them older. And yeah, like that just shows like, I mean, companies weren't sending women to like learn about negotiation. They're sending men to learn about negotiation.
Yeah. And I think like having done this work now for some time, I'm like shaking, flags. I'm like, hello, you're, women make 75 cents on the dollar for men. This is like fact in medicine. Like every year Medscape does their annual salary report and they're like, well, turns out still here. And I think,
yeah. And I also want to say, like, even if you're like, oh no, that's not our institution, we're paid strictly on RVUs and everyone's the same RVUs. Right. But in those places, women tend to do 24% more unpaid work.
Yeah. Oh, but not just that. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I do believe that there's this thing that happens in women's brains where they're like, but that doesn't apply to me. Like, I know it's out there, but it doesn't apply to me. And we believe that because we're good, trusting people. We're like, of course, people are going to pay me what I'm worth, until somehow we find out. And it's always the story. Like, I happen to find out that the guy next to me, who's junior to me, is making more than me. And then they get pissed. They get perturbed, Elisa. And I'm like, I know, that's what I've been trying to tell you. So, but to your point, not only the unpaid work, they're like, we're all paid the same because we're paid by RVUs. You can negotiate the RVU conversion factor. You can negotiate how much you get paid per RVU. And if you don't even know to ask for that and to try to negotiate that, the guy next to you might be getting $55 per RVU and you're only getting $50. So it's like, instead of thinking like, does this apply to me? We need to think, how does this apply to me? And then we need to work on our mindset so that we're not, it's barfy. Like it's scary to negotiate. We have to learn how to be okay with that and tolerate a little bit of discomfort. Negotiation, the definition is just like a discussion towards reaching a mutual agreement. It's just a discussion. Are you willing to feel barfy for 45 minutes plus like, an hour for some back and forth emails to have, an extra? There's a statistic in the book, Women Don't Ask. There's two negotiation books. I'm just going to like pile it all on here and just send in the hook if you want me to stop talking about this stuff. But there's a book called Women Don't Ask by Babcock and Lechevre that's all about how men do ask and women don't ask. And this is part of why the gender wage gap exists. And then there's a book called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, who is a former FBI hostage negotiator. Such a good book.
Amazing book. I love that book.
So I lost my train of thought again. What the heck is going on? Like, where was I going with that? It's gone. I was talking about barfiness. Yeah. And I was just saying like, for every $5,000 at your starting salary, if a man negotiates for $5,000 more than a woman over the course of a lifetime, that amounts to $500,000. That one negotiation. You can fact check me, look in that book. But you can imagine, like, if I start at 120 and he starts at 125, and then there's inflation every year and he goes up 3% and I go up 3%. And then when we negotiate for that promotion, he gets his raise bumped up to 150, but I get mine bumped up to 130. You can see how this would amount to that with interest and blah, 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 financial terms that I don't know what they mean. Just one negotiation. So it's that, and it's discomfort now versus discomfort later. It's the same with the charts. It's like either you finish your chart now and it's a little bit uncomfortable because maybe you keep the patient waiting, but it takes you 5 minutes, or you leave it until you get home at the end of the night and it takes you 40 minutes because you don't remember half the stuff you talked about and you're so tired and your brain's in a fog and you have to go through all the decisions you already made. So it's like, if you can learn to manage discomfort, even in like the way you fail, like the more you practice failing, like the better you're going to get at something. Going back to finances, the more we're like, I don't want to make a bad investment. It's like, yeah, no, you should make some bad investments. You're probably going to. It's okay. Don't never invest because you're worried about that. Like, learn how to get better and keep going.
Yeah, and I think the discomfort of saying no, and no is a complete sentence. You don't have to say no and start giving explanations of why you're not doing whatever you're being asked. If it's not a hell yes, then it's no.
Yeah.
And that can be really important because actually women physicians tend to get asked to do a lot more things than men by like nurses or MAs or people in the office. I don't know if it's just because women are thought to be more approachable or more likely to do something, or that we do say yes much more often than men, that men are more comfortable saying no. But this just gets added to the work that we do that's not compensated typically in the office. And then again, on your point on failure, like looking at failure differently, right? Like failing forward and not looking necessarily as failure, but a lesson learned and just gathering more information. And even going back to the marathon example that we talked about quite a while ago, like, if you decide that you're going to start training for a marathon and you go out and run 3 miles, well, you didn't run 26.2 miles. So you failed that day, right? You didn't run a marathon, but no, you're like working yourself up. You're building it up. You run 3 miles, and you run 4, then you run 5. And then eventually you're going to get to that 26.2.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And eventually you're going to have like $10 million in your retirement account, and you're going to be able to just be okay and not worry so much. Same thing.
Yeah. And it really, when it comes to money, it's the same thing. It's like you learn bit by bit. You start with bit by bit. You invest a little, then you get more confident. You start investing more. And then, eventually you get to the end point. And it's not going to be overnight. But if you don't start, it's never going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what's the one next thing you need to do? Just focus on that. Just like the very next thing. Eyes on the prize.
And I don't know what thoughts you have about how people can overcome the boredom, because I do get that, finances is boring. They don't want to learn about it. They can't get themselves to actually learn about it because it's boring.
So it's funny, but I don't think the solution is overcoming the boredom. I think the solution is being like, yeah, you're bored. It's fine. Pay attention. It's kind of like your kid in the lima beans. They're like, I don't like vegetables. I don't want to eat them. It's like, yeah, you're not going to want to eat them. You're going to eat them anyway. This just came up for me recently where I was like, I signed up to go to a personal trainer with a friend of mine, and my brain kept being like, I really don't want to go. It's not going to be fun. And it's going to suck. And I hate exercise. And I was like, okay, we're going, because you want that future result. Like future me wants me to pay attention during these phone calls, regardless of if I'm bored or not. So it's sort of, instead of becoming swallowed by that feeling of discomfort or boredom or whatever it is, you just allow it to be there. You're like, I see it. This is the part of being a human where sometimes stuff is boring. Doesn't mean anything's gone wrong. Let's go.
Yeah. And as physicians, like we've had to learn things that we thought was boring, right? Like we went through all of medical school. There were definitely things that we thought were boring. Learning the Krebs cycle is not interesting.
Oh, you didn't love that? I love it. No, I'm just kidding. I think I was absent that day. Yeah, it's true. Like in life isn't always going to be like a thrilling ride. If you are expecting it to be fun when you go to look at your finances, like, we can think about, why are you even expecting things to be fun all the time? Like sometimes they're just not. That's okay. Schedule fun after. Be like, all right, if I get through this call and I pay attention, then I can go do something fun.
Right. Reward yourself. Like set a reward for doing the hard thing.
So wind us down. Where do you want to go from here? What do you want your listeners to know?
Well, I think we had so many great pearls during this conversation, and thanks so much for coming on. Why don't you just let our listeners know how they can find you, how they can learn more about you if they want to work with you?
Sure. They can find me at www.karenleitnermd. It's LEITNER.com. I have a program called How to Feel Better for Women Physicians, and I'd love anyone to come learn how to do this work with me. And that's it.
Great. Thanks so much. I'll put that information in the show notes. And again, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, it was great being here. Thank you.
All right. And thanks for listening to the Grow Your Wealthy Mindset podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you could share it with your friends and colleagues. And now for the disclaimer. I am not a certified financial planner, accountant, or attorney, and nothing I say should be construed as professional investment, tax, or legal advice. This show is primarily for your education and entertainment. I am a physician, but I'm probably not your physician. So if you need any medical advice, please contact your own physician. Thank you.